I wish my name was Albus Dumbledore. Learning has become a lot more entwined into the business. Today, if it's machine learning, tomorrow it may be automation, and the day after it may be AI.
What would be the one change that you would bring to L&D space in India?
L&D leaders need to realize that it has to be a relationship of equals.
Hello and welcome to Wizards of Learning, a chat show where we put L&D well beyond the boundaries of learning and development. I'm Dabas and I'm the faculty in residence at Harappa, India's foremost online learning platform. And let me tell you that even though businesses and professionals alike may be more focused on earning, every organization needs effective learning to future-proof itself, boost business performance, and empower employees, and yes, prevent churning. Every episode, we are turning the spotlight on L&D custodians at some of India's leading companies who are on top of the latest concepts. The burning question, is it finally possible to close all those terrifying skill gaps? So if you are yearning to know how to do L&D well, sit back and relax. And let's begin and dive right into Wizards of Learning. For our first episode today, we have Ritesh Ranjan, the Senior Vice President, Global Learning and Talent Management at EMIDS. So hello, Learning Wizard, and thank you for joining us on our show. Let's start with telling our audience a little about you and your journey.
Thanks, Chaya. As you spoke about wizards, I wish my name was Albus Dumbledore, but it's not. My name is Ritesh Ranjan. I grew up in a small town in Jamshedpur and studied in Varanasi and Chandigarh. So pretty much, different parts of the country. And right now, I lead learning and talent management for EMIDS. Our clients are typically, large companies either in the payer, provider, or life sciences domain. And I've been here for a year. Feels a little longer than that, given how much has happened in the last 1 year that I've been here. And I'm glad to be on this show.
No, absolutely. First of all, it's a pleasure to have you as, of course, the first guest on Wizards of Learning. And trust me, we have a very interesting conversation planned with you. So right off the bat, Ritesh, what does L&D mean to you?
I think it means life and purpose, because if there's one thing that gives me a lot of energy, it's being in this field. I think my personal mantra in life is to become a better version of myself every day. So which means can I be better than I was yesterday? And that's how I sort of competition is with myself in that sense. And if that's something that I can also sort of inspire others and instill in others, to try to do that for themselves. I think that's a purpose which sort of motivates me a lot. So I would say life and purpose. I would go as far as to say it's life and purpose.
Such a nice way to put it. And of course, L&D, the first letter of the acronym is also L, so that can be life and development as well. And I think that also goes really well. Yeah. So let me ask you, what was the time or maybe point of the turning point in your life when you decided to venture into L&D? And what is it that you love the most about your work and this space?
It was purely by accident. My first job was with a company called NIS Sparta, an NIT group company, a great company. It was a learning and development organization. We had just about 250 consultants all over Asia. And I think I met some of the best minds in learning while I was there. So it was a good training ground for me. I started out in content development. That then got into training delivery. Then I also did, learning solutions selling. So pretty much got exposure to the entire spectrum while I was with NIS. And that's how I got into learning. But, once you sort of, are part of it, and once I started to deliver learning programs, create learning programs, go and speak with clients, right? I was fresh out of college, but I was speaking to pretty senior stakeholders in large organizations like Maruti and IOCL and Hero Honda. And it was great learning for me. And then post that, I moved into GE Capital, to Intel, and then started to focus more and more on leadership development. So that became like a big area of focus for me, and the area that I'm most passionate about, within the learning and development domain. But yeah, it was purely by accident, but a happy accident, I would say.
Very interesting. So I know you spoke a lot about your passion for L&D, and of course we've been working together for a while now. But do you see a shift in adoption in L&D in today's world? Are organizations becoming more receptive and welcoming towards L&D overall?
I think so. I think what has happened over the last 5-7 years, I would say, companies understand learning a lot better, right? I mean, learning has become a lot more entwined into the business, right? Earlier, it was academy, which was there in as part of the company, where people would go and do some learning and then come back. But then, there was not enough focus on trying to understand how that translates into achievement of business objectives. I think that is becoming a lot more clearer over the past few years, where we look at learning as a strategic differentiator and a key lever in achievement of business goals. So from that perspective, I think there's a lot more leadership sponsorship that learning is getting, a lot more investments. Earlier, I remember, it still is a discretionary spend, but earlier, as soon as the chips were down, the first your budgets would get cut in learning, right? So that's how it sort of used to happen, but not anymore. Even if companies are going through a not so great time, I think they don't cut back on learning investments, because that's a way to build your human resources. Make sure that we are creating more talent in the areas that the company or the business needs. And therefore, I think, from a leadership perspective, it's become a lot more important.
I indeed feel that it's a very rewarding space, because one, of course, it is adding to your growth and your journey as a professional. But at the same time, so many people get to benefit too, right? Let's shift our gaze towards the challenges. What are the kind of challenges you have faced during your journey, or maybe in your current role as well? And let's keep them as broad as possible, or maybe the biggest challenges that you are trying to tackle as an L&D stalwart. Over to you.
Yeah, I think the challenges are quite similar to what other L&D professionals must be facing in other organizations across the world. I think the first thing I would talk about is, how do you get learner engagement, right, in the learning programs that you create. So that becomes, especially in a post-pandemic world that we are a part of right now, where most programs are hybrid. There are self-paced elements and there are virtual instructor-led classes, and because they're not there in the room, right, it sort of takes away a little bit of engagement that you would have otherwise been able to create. Let's imagine, our hybrid program also had 3 in-person classes, right? Of course, I think the engagement would be a lot more. So I think learner engagement is one key challenge, especially in the kind of world where we are operating in a hybrid or remote environment. Right? So that's one. Second, I think, is making sure that we are absolutely aligned with the stakeholders on what exactly is the business problem we are trying to solve, and therefore what's the learning imperative out of that. So the business problem or challenges, the learning imperatives, and from there, the design comes in, where we talk about how do we then take this learning imperative and create a great learning journey out of it. So I think that is another big challenge, where the need to work with stakeholders in a manner that you're able to make the learning as sharp as possible, right? So that's the other one. It's a good challenge to have, and I enjoy doing that. And I think the third piece I would say is, how can you get more from less, which means, you have a finite budget, and how you can use that smartly, so that you're able to achieve your objectives, choose your partners wisely, effectively, so that, you're able to create, maximum impact with the budget that you have. So I think those are the 3 big challenges, I would say, that L&D professionals like me face.
Let's dig a little deeper into those challenges. You spoke a lot about creating credibility with the learners, right? So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the operational challenges that one might face, or maybe some of the more prominent ones that you're trying to tackle on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think, when we talk about engagement, we also have to remember the fact that, all these people that we have are working really hard, working long hours, are, completely billable. And therefore, for them to take out time, to develop themselves, they have to make time for it. So that can be a challenge sometimes, that, projects are tough. They are really, really busy. So how can they, take time? Or what I don't want to do is invade into their personal space and schedule a learning program on Saturday or over the weekend, right? So that's one, I think, operational challenge, I would say. The other is, scheduling, right? How can you schedule the program in a manner that allows enough gap between one session and the other? And yet it's not too long that, people are not able to, benefit from the continuity of learning one concept and then moving on to the other one. So I think those two, and then I think I would say consistently getting time from our own senior leaders to come and talk, right, is the other one. We've been able to manage that to an extent, but people are busy. So getting them to come and speak with our people, make sure that whatever learning they've gone through, they're able to contextualize it and say, this is what it means in an EMIDS context. I think that is really important. So I think that's the other operation challenge, I would say, when it comes to learning engagement.
Very interesting. I think while some of the challenges would be, I would say, general in nature across organizations, of course, there will be some unique challenges which you're dealing with at EMIDS level. So, this demand that we've been speaking about, understanding that maybe all operational challenges are well placed and well sorted out. I wanted to understand, how do you see this demand coming in?
I think the demand is always there. Sometimes you have to create it. Sometimes the demand is not very express. It may be implied, but you have to sort of work on it and make the need obvious for people, right? But I think it's continuous. I think what changes is the kind of learning that is in demand, right? So today, if it's machine learning, tomorrow it may be automation, and the day after it may be AI. But what stays consistent is the fact that people need to learn, and people need to learn what is important for themselves as well as to drive the business forward. So from that perspective, I think the demand is consistent. We continuously need to work with people so that they realize that while they're busy, they need to carve out time for their own development, and that's something that we have to continuously do. But I see that as continuous and not something which comes in waves.
What is your one advice to all the young L&D professionals who look up to you, who want to enter this space, and hopefully after this podcast might actually write to you and ask you to guide them and mentor them more? So what's the one advice you would like to give to all the young L&D professionals out there?
I was, I think, lucky in the sense that I started out with an organization where I got to work on the entire spectrum of learning, right from design to development to learning delivery, to program management. I think today what I see is, that a lot of people start getting boxed in a particular area. So either they are program managers, or they are facilitators, or they are learning designers. I think it's important that we create that depth in a particular area, but also, make sure that we're able to build skills in the other areas within learning. Because today, it's when I look for people, right, it's very difficult to find people who are exposed to all these facets of learning, and that's what I would encourage people to do. So if I'm someone who is program managing learning in my organization today, I would encourage them to also look for opportunities to create learning programs, to look for opportunities to go out and deliver learning programs. It may be scary in the beginning, but I think once they've delivered a couple of programs, I think people will see that that the confidence will be there, energy will be there, and everybody starts like that. I remember the first learning program that I was facilitating. It was but I think once you've delivered a couple, Your confidence is there. You know that you'll be able to handle it. So that's the one advice I think if I have to give. That's what I would say. Don't get boxed in a particular area.
Wise words from a very wise man. Thank you so much, Ritesh. Now we're going to be moving into the next segment. And mind you, we got to be rapid about it, okay? This is the rapid fire round, something which is very popularly known, but we added a L&D twist to it. So get ready, get active, and get charged. I need
I'm not
quick
good at
and...
this.
No, we won't keep it as rapid. We'll make it comfortable to your speed. But the idea is to have quick and unfiltered answers, okay?
Sure.
So Ritesh, this is the rapid fire round. So Ritesh, if you had a chance, what would you rename L&D as?
I would call it Gurukul.
Wow, that's so contextually and so powerful at the same time. Okay, so what is the one thing you wish to say to all those who unfortunately confuse you with HR?
So we are in the business of developing people, not managing them.
Okay, the top 3 L&D trends to watch out for this year.
Focus on upskilling and reskilling, micro learning and bite-sized learning, I would say. Second and third would be user-generated content.
Okay, turning the question the other way around, worst 3 L&D trends that we must bury from the last year.
One would be over-reliance on micro-learning and using it extensively. And the second would be only self-paced content. That won't work.
Next question. Let's get even more rapid about this. If you had an all-power card, what would be the one change that you would bring to L&D space in India?
Wow, I mean, there's with great power comes great responsibility. So I would say if everybody becomes as hungry about learning as L&D professionals are, right? I mean, that would be great, right? I mean, that would be paradise for all L&D professionals. So that's what I would ask for.
Since we spoke about India, let's take the gaze outside of it. What is the one thing we should adapt or imbibe from other L&D cultures?
I think there's a lot of focus that I see in cultures outside of India on making sure that the learning has actually happened and not so much on whether they've got a certificate or not that they can post on social media. So I think, making learning more intrinsic is something that we can get from other cultures.
The last 2 questions. If not L&D, Ritesh, what would we be talking about?
I think
what would you be doing?
I would be doing HR. I've done HR for about 5-6 years. So that's what I would be doing. I would be probably the head of HR in some company.
Okay. And last question to wrap up this conversation. What is the most aspirational idea that you have had as an L&D person?
It would be great if an L&D person can actually be the HRD minister of this country, right? And that would be great.
That's a conversation we will have with the political party of this country next time. But thank you so much, Ritesh. This was an extremely scintillating conversation and one that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I'm sure that all our learners and all our watchers out there, the L&D folks that look up to you, the L&D universe that Harappa is trying to build, this is going to benefit everyone so much. And thank you for being our first guest. Always love learning from wizards of learning like you. And thank you for joining us on the first episode and hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did.
Thank you for having me on this show and it's great to be part of this initiative.
Perfect. With that, everyone, we wrap up the first episode. A huge shout out to Ritesh for being so kind enough to participating here. And there's always a lot of learning in this space, and when wizards like him join us, I mean, I think the sky is the limit, right? So thanks, Ritesh, and we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.